at the country's revenue service weren't spared from the ramifications of state capture. SARS Commissioner Kieswetter has issued personal apologies to each of the affected workers as well as to their families for what he calls, and I quote, actions and omissions by the organization that had a devastating and profound impact on their lives during the period 2014 to 2018. Well, the Commissioner joins us now for more on this. Mr. Kieswetter, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. Quite a heartfelt apology that I've also read through to, of course, those employees of SARS that have felt the ramifications and the consequences of decisions taken by SARS. Let's go back to where SARS got it wrong. In your opinion, how did you get to that point?
Well, thank you and good morning, Tamela. The important thing to note is that according to the Nugent report, that period under the leadership of the former commissioner, there was a deliberate attempt to weaken the organization, to undo a lot of the good work, and also to marginalize certain people that were not considered to be compliant. SARS itself became a victim because if the actions of an individual, albeit the leader of that organization, is not just against people, it also is against the organization itself. And so because SARS itself became captured during that period, the organization did nothing to, in fact, support or to defend these individuals. The Nugent report then lays bare a lot of the actions and provides the commissioner, the incoming commissioner, with a list of recommendations, amongst which was also to consider both internal and external employees who were wronged during this process. And the apology that we issued last week brings to a culmination a process that took place over the last 3 years to right the wrongs and finally to bring about restorative justice, specifically those employees who were publicly humiliated, whose reputation were tarnished, and in fact many of them lost employment and became unemployable during this period.
Right. It's also the Sekhakhane and KPMG investigations in your letter, Mr. Kieswetter, that you also hold accountable, saying their findings and recommendations were deeply flawed. Take me through those findings because one would think that, organizations like KPMG are quite reputable and the investigations definitely should be able to reveal truth. But in this instance, it seems there was more flaw than truth.
When an organization, and specifically the leaders of an organization, act with a corrupt intent, and there can be no question, Tamela, that there was a clear corrupt intent from the very beginning up until we see it laid bare in the Nugent report. And so organizations like SARS, like KPMG, like Bain, and all of these organizations, ultimately decisions are made by people. Organizations are inanimate edicts in law and statute, but it is ultimately decisions of people that give effect and becomes the life and soul of an organization. And when organizations or individuals within those organizations act with a corrupt intent, they are misguided, and we have the implication and the impact and the outcomes that then destroys the lives of people.
With that being said, you have issued an apology to the employees. Their names are also listed because they did give permission for you to list them publicly. Besides the apology, what other action is SARS then recommended to take? Are you able to share that with us?
Let me first say that as incoming commissioner, it was the important part of my responsibility was to balance the fiduciary accountability towards the organization with being fair and approaching this matter with restorative justice for the individuals. And so what we did was to appoint an independent panel, Justice Fruneman and Advocate Thuli Madonsela, to take representations of the people, of every one of these individuals. The names are listed. Those are the employees who agreed we could publish their names. And then based on the representations and an engagement with the panel, the Commissioner was then given a set of recommendations. The recommendations included, for those who were affected through income loss, there was a compensatory component, in other words, money to some degree for those who have suffered income loss. Secondly, there was some award towards damages, and that's for emotional trauma, loss of reputation, etc. Thirdly, there was an engagement with selected individuals to see if they could return and accept reemployment. Every one of them received a private apology, and then the public apology hopefully will bring closure and healing to a process that was long and traumatic and hurtful for many of them. And so therefore, the reparation and restorative justice included both a financial and a non-financial component.
All right, and we leave it there. I appreciate you speaking to me about this morning. SARS Commissioner Kieswetter, thank you so much for your time. With that being said, Morena Mutupi standing by.